of the item. I received all of the data from both sides of the issue of whether to put the sidewalk in or not. And in thinking about the number of children in that area that walk or bike to school or go back for activities at the playground, I thought the sidewalk was necessary. And being that there is going to be less funding for schools, less funding with revenue that the state has taken away, like, for example, the 20J funds, et cetera, not only in our community but other communities, there's going to be less busing. They may have to cut back because that is not mandated by the law. Busing is not one of the things that the school districts have to provide. Education, yes. The busing, no. And therefore, we may have a lot of kids walking, and I think it's important that they have a designated sidewalk to walk on, which will be safer for them. It also will tell anyone who wants to traverse there where the line is, the property line for the abutting property owners and the public right-of-way. As far as having a sidewalk close to the property, I happen to live on a corner, have a sidewalk that abuts my property, and I look forward to the folks using the sidewalk for biking, walking, skateboarding, walking their dog, and not walking on my property. So I like having the sidewalk there because it's a clear designation and can more easily be cleared off when there is snow. So for all those reasons, that's why I moved to A. Further discussion of the motion?
Madam Mayor?
Councilman Fleming?
Yes, I was leaning more toward B rather than putting in a walkway. I certainly think we need to have a pathway for the kids. It's been that way for years, but I was leaning more toward not pouring concrete and going to that expense, but simply identifying a clear path for the kids, and it could be negotiated with the city and the landowners. That's the way I was leaning toward. I thought it would be more cost effective, but yet still maintain a good pathway for the kids, never to abandon that or vacate that public walkway. But that's what I was thinking. You know, the bottom line is we want our kids to be safe. We want to have, this should be a walkway for them, but I thought it could be improved, maybe without going all the way to a sidewalk.
Councilwoman Beltrami?
Madam Mayor, did I read somewhere where this would be a 10-foot sidewalk, 10-foot wide? Or is the easement 10 feet?
Mr. Miller?
The easement is 12 feet wide, and we would put in an 8-foot wide sidewalk.
Okay, thank you. With split rail on either
Correct.
side. Right. Thank you.
Further discussion?
Mayor?
Councilman Howard?
My inclinations, I guess, would be similar to Councilman Fleming's, but I also have a couple of concerns. The first of which is why in 42 years this hasn't been constructed ever, and I've been on council for 10 and a half, and this is the first time it's come, to my knowledge, in the form of a resolution. I'm just curious as to what's transpired since Lyndon Johnson was president.
Mr. Zerline?
I'm an old man, and I asked the same question. 42 years ago, I was still in public school, and no one knew the answer, quite candidly. That's why we're offering 3 options, and it's up to City Council to decide.
We already had, members of the audience, we already had an opportunity for people to speak before, but we do have your letters. We did review everything. The Councilman Slater?
Mayor, I went out there today to take a look at this, and I have to say I was disappointed in what Mr. Lanier has done to this property. It is quite obvious that he has encroached more than halfway on this issue. If he had not done what he did, I would feel that it would be easy to put a pathway in there, but I don't think you can put one in there now. at a minimal expense. You'd have to rip out shrubs, rocks, fences, and I am somewhat persuaded by the amount of citizens that signed the petition for their kids. But more importantly, I'm disappointed in what Mr. Lanier did. And because of that, I would vote to put a cement walkway in there.
Further discussion of the motion?
Madam Mayor.
Councilwoman Kerwin?
Encroachment has definitely taken place along that. I have gone out to visit that and watched school come and go, and the kids who use that. I am really concerned about the safety issue. We have received a letter from the principal. We have received multiple letters and some phone calls. We have a petition. We have a recommendation from staff, and I will be voting to support the concrete sidewalk.
Further discussion of the motion?
Madam Mayor,
Councilwoman McGinnis?
I am disappointed about the fact that it looked as though there was an issue that's fairly recent, especially in terms of the long-term perspective of 40-plus years. And it appeared to me, when this came to our attention, which was fairly recently, that we were going down a path where we were going to try to involve all the citizens, get perspectives, and try to come up with a solution that could take into account what I think our best interest would be, which is providing a walkway. And I think we even heard tonight during public comment that someone mentioned now that the issue has come to light and it's been marked with something that doesn't even appear to be very substantial, but just with that small amount of marking, that we're already seeing a marked difference in the availability and the fact that kids are using this pathway more and more. It's my understanding that it wasn't really a preferred pathway to the school prior to this. So I was hoping that by the discussions that were had before this issue came to City Council, that we were reaching some sort of a balance. And I do think that some measures should be taken to rectify this encroachment problem. And I think that those were things that were willingly going to be agreed to by the two citizens that recognized the fact that they had taken these steps. So I was hoping that we could go somewhere down along the lines of Resolution B, which would require that those two citizens are going to make the arrangements to remove the property that's been placed on the pathway, and that we would place something that is very definitive and marks the pathway so that people are able to use it freely. And I think everyone's concerns could be addressed, and I think everyone's concerns could be resolved. Obviously, if that does not rectify the situation, there's nothing that says we can't revisit the issue. But I don't want to make it look as though we're having a knee-jerk reaction to something when there is a possibility of coming to some sort of compromise.
My concern with having just a pathway indicated there, that it's very easily then to be encroached upon again at another time, and also about the clearing of the walkway in when it is in the winter with the snow. If it is a pathway that the students are going to use to get to school, and the school district does their clearing of walks, etc., so that children can walk to school, I think it'll be cleared more easily than if it is not a concrete sidewalk. That's why I keep discussing it. Anyway, I think people pretty much, council's pretty much made up their mind. Anyone else want to speak on it?
Mayor?
Councilman Howard?
A couple more questions. One is, if we did option B, I imagine that in an agreement we could ensure that the city bears no cost because we're not the ones that are encroached in the right-of-way. Is that something that could be accomplished? Meaning that the property owner who encroached bears the financial responsibility of clearing up the encroachment?
Mr. Zerling, I saw Mr. Miller signal, but either one.
Mark can respond.
I saw him signal and I saw you signal, so.
The initial discussions with Mr. Lanier would be to remove any obstructions, but to allow encroachment upon the public walkway. but it would be to allow the grass to remain. That's the direction we're going. Public Works has issues with wood chips. That needs maintenance. It flies all over. But the city attorney will tell you she has concerns and has prepared draft documents to address the encroachment, because we have the city's situation that we need to protect in recognizing that there's an encroachment, and the property owner will take liability upon that. The other thing that we don't know is, will those property owners agree to sign those documents prepared by our city attorney's office?
Now, another question is, under option A, can we also mandate that the property owner who encroached bears some responsibility, at least for clearing up the stuff that's there, or is that something the city is going to bear the cost?
Mrs. Bloom?
I can address actually both of those questions. Yes, it is something that we certainly would be the responsibility of the property owner who has encroached on city property to remove that. And as far as the draft agreement, we have prepared an initial agreement, as Mr. Miller's indicated. There is the responsibility would certainly be on the property owner. We are concerned about protecting the city's interests in this, and also making sure that there is a pathway for the children to use in perpetuity. As far as the clearing of the walkway and things like that, those are things that we would need to address, and we have not gotten any further with the finalization of the agreement. We've just put something together that, again, if council decides to go that way, we certainly have a lot more work to do.
And Mr. Zerlag, I have a question regarding when the installation can occur. If we approve Resolution A this evening, we received some communication that said we're still pouring sidewalks in November.
That's correct. It'll occur this month.
Okay. So then the children would have a way to traverse there to school in the winter this year.
Before Christmas break, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor?
Further discussion? Councilman Howard?
Yes. Now, my additional question is, how far does that right-of-way extend? Does it extend, and how's it going to hook up with the school?
There's an attachment, isn't that right?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, the subject public walkway abuts the full lengths of lot 102 and 108 and 109, and a small portion of 110, and it will just butt right up against the school district property. And I heard someone saying it will go in someone else's backyard. This does not go in anyone's backyard. It touches squarely up against the school district's property, and the school district is prepared to provide a connection to, if you've been on that Hill Elementary, there's an asphalt loop, and they would then provide a pavement connection to the public walkway sidewalk.
And my concern would be, under either option A or option B, that we get something from the school district saying they'll do that, because we'd hate to do our 90% of the pathway and their little 10 or 15% is the way it is now. I want to make sure that what we do is usable. And the other thing too is, when was that the ramps? When were the ramps put in on Renshaw?
In the ADA?
The cross ramps up to cross the street.
My understanding is that they were installed very recently with the sidewalk program.
And again, under either option A or option B, it would be my hope that we could put some little cross hashes, the white crossing there, so just for safety.
Okay. The vote, Mrs. Bartholomew?
Councilmember Howard.
No.
Kerwin?
Yes.
McGinnis?
No.
Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Schilling?
Yes.
Councilmember Beltramini?
Yes.
Fleming?
No.
Motion passes. I'm sure we can get the sidewalk in and get the school district to, but we've worked that all out.
Absolutely.
Sorry it took so long. To the residents and the kids, I'm sorry it took so long. Okay, yes. Oh, yes, we're going to take a 5-minute break and then come back for consent agenda. Session, and we'll go on to the consent agenda. Council members, do you have any items under the consent agenda that you wish to have removed from the vote of approval? Hearing, yes, Councilman Fleming.
I'm sorry I'm running late getting back here. I was
That's all right.
talking out front. But it was J4.
J4, okay. All right, would someone move a resolution approving all except for J4?
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Beltramini?
resolved that the Troy City Council hereby approves all items on the consent agenda as presented, with the exception of item J4, which shall be considered after consent agenda items as printed.
Support.
Moved by Councilwoman Beltramini, seconded by Councilman Fleming, that we approve all consent agenda items with this vote except for J4 that'll be considered after this.
And Mayor?
Yes,
Just for clarification, there is an amendment. It was on the table today, and that is for the Rudeck Trust item J6. So I just want to make sure that the motion includes it as placed on the table.
All right. J6 as placed on the table. Okay. All right. The vote, Mrs. Bartholomew?
Councilmember Kerwin?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Schilling?
Yes.
Councilmember Beltramini?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Motion passes. J4, Councilman Fleming?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I'd like to delay consideration for purchasing these 6 vehicles until after January the 17th, when we have the ICMA restructuring presentation, which might allow us to eliminate these vehicles. I don't know, but I think it would be premature to vote on these 6 vehicles now prior to the recommendation restructuring organization on January the 17th.
And I have a question regarding this item, since Councilman Fleming brought it up, is if we do what he suggests, do we still get the special prices by working with Macomb County Cooperative Purchasing Agreement?
I'll let Mr. Sam Lamorato respond to that matter.
Okay. Mr. Lamorato?
Madam Mayor, the agreement with Macomb County is still in effect, but we would lose the $500 incentive per vehicle. That is an early incentive for orders to keep the factory rolling along, and we would lose that incentive.
So it's would be $30,000.
$3,000.
$3,000. Excuse me, $3,000. Okay.
And also, we currently have one Ford Crown Victoria in our inventory as a spare Crown Victoria to replace the police fleet. And we have 6 Crown Victorias nearing their expiration for mileage in the fleet. So we're going to need to do something. If we order in January, you probably wouldn't see the vehicles till March or April.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Zerlag?
These are, I believe these are 6 police patrol street vehicles. And ICMA, while they're talking to us on January 17th, and you're having a subsequent budget meeting the week after, we're not going to be taking a look at the public safety element, police, fire, and public works. And we'll do public works in January. The police fire element will not be until probably February or March, just so you know.
Oh, that's not good.
That would put the vehicles out much further. Are further questions or discussion on this item?
Mayor,
Councilman Slater?
maybe I could ask Mr. Lamorato, if these were approved and there was a decision to get rid of some other vehicles, that still could be done later on down the road, is that correct? If we had an excess of vehicles, we could dispose of them some way?
If we had an excess of vehicles, yes, we could auction vehicles off, or we could just continue to put those in as we find vehicles that are costing us more per mile in an earlier, retire those vehicles somewhat earlier and put the newer vehicles in to keep our operating costs much lower.
Madam Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin?
This says, this is for Mr. Lamorato, that these 6 police patrol vehicles are being purchased for the replacements that are being auctioned off. So you say that we currently only have 1 available. In the event that something happened, this would be the only one out there. And these are for patrol units. These are our first fleet on the ground.
Yes, this is the marked patrol vehicles that we use on a daily basis.
Do we have a resolution on the table?
No, we're discussing the item because he asked, Councilman Fleming asked to have it removed from the consent agenda.
Well, I'll move the resolution.
As printed?
As presented.
Second.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin, seconded by Councilwoman Beltramini, that we approve the resolution as printed. Discussion? The vote, Mrs. Bartholomew?
Councilmember McGinnis?
Yes.
Slater?
Yes.
Mayor Schilling?
Yes.
Councilmember Beltramini?
Yes.
Fleming?
Yes.
Howrleck?
Yes.
Kerwin?
Yes.
Motion passed. Okay, let's go to memorandums, council referrals, council comments. I'd like to just do really quick. I don't know if Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin was going to say anything or not, but about P3 North America. P3 North America, which moved, it's actually, P3 is a German company, and it moved to here at the persuasion of members from Mercedes-Benz to come and work on projects that have to do with a hybrid vehicle with Mercedes-Benz, Chrysler, and GM. And they found that they were very successful in working with other endeavors as well, cooperative efforts. And we were at their ribbon cut and opening Friday. And the reason I want to mention that is that one of the things that I was especially pleased to hear was the gentleman who is the research specialist from Mercedes-Benz talk about the cooperative effort that went on and the confidentiality that each of the car companies had their own proprietary things that they do with the vehicle, yet they were able to work together, and P3 was able to do that, keep all that confidentiality and everything, and come out the exact product that they wanted. And they talked about, and they've grown to, they started with 3 employees, they've grown to 65, and but it was the exact example of how working together and keeping confidence on things that need to be confidential worked out, and a wonderful business example of a success. And I think maybe even that they're going to grow even more because of what they're doing. A lot of engineers there, and just a really good effort. And so it was fun to be there and hear their things that they said. We're always glad to have companies come to Troy, of course. We beat out New Jersey, and we're one of the components of the German company are there, and P3 is well known in Germany. Anyway, that's the item that I wanted to bring up. Anybody else? Council comments?
Madam Mayor?
Councilman Beltramini?
We presented the plaque regarding recycling today.
Yeah.
And I'm tickled, and I go to all that work every week too, and I know a lot of people do. Lately I have heard that the newspapers, because we request that they're put on top of the bins whenever possible, are being taken before Tringali's people get to them. Well, there's money in them if you can collect enough of them. And so my question is, I know that we have the ordinance that trash is trash and you shouldn't go into other people's trash. But my question is there another place, a more central location, if people wanted to actually bring their newspapers so that the city would get that money back because, again, and I'm like a broken record on this, the more we recycle, the more money goes back into the fund, the less our taxes have to go up to pay for increases in fees. So if there's a way that that could be done or looked into, I know it's one more thing, but I really would appreciate it. Thank you.
And to go along with that, why are we putting them up on top now? They used to be, you could put them in paper bags and put them right in.
My instructions say leave them on top whenever possible. So. But even so.
And especially with inclement weather, I would think that they should be inside the container.
They still can be taken.
Maybe we could look at that, and then we'll have less people taking them if they're inside the container.
Perhaps Mark can shed some light on that now.
Okay. You know?
Well, I believe I'll have to look into why they're placing them on top. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, you can't put cans on top. Right. So.
and I also will find out if there's a place that you can deliver them to. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, Sacra is set up to have the stream come in from the trucks, not the public set up like the old days when you recycle, individuals will go. But now they're set up for the trucks to come in and then they separate at the facility.
Okay.
And just as a thought, Tringali picks up our trash here at City Hall, don't they? Or at the community center? Mm-hmm. If we could put a recycling bin of some substance near one of those trash bins, it might be worth thinking about. Because then it would be our paper.
But you want to designate it just for newspaper?
I would prefer that. Otherwise, you'll end up with garbage in it.
That was the problem we had when it was over at the DPW yard. Okay, any other council comments? Yes. Is that you?
No, but I would.
Councilwoman, did somebody else ask for the floor? Okay, Councilwoman Kerwin?
Just a couple.
Mayor Pro Tem Kerwin?
Thank you. There was a question again tonight about salary, again, versus a package or benefits, or an accusation actually about salary versus benefits. Were we going to receive a memo which went through that?
You're going to receive that memo for next Monday's meeting.
Okay.
Essentially, there's 3 tiers on someone's package, if you will. The first tier is a salary or wage that's paid. The second tier includes fringe benefits that are guaranteed through either a handbook or a labor contract. That would be your health insurance, your pension. The third tier is a liability, which may or may not be paid to the employee, like sick leave and vacation leave. If someone takes sick time and vacation time, they don't get paid for it, although we do show it as a liability.
You know, when we were looking for a manager in the page that went out, I talked about salary and benefits, but it didn't have a complete number. And I know there was a reference from one of the speakers tonight that she had looked in the paper and seen some want ads and not seen then benefits, as if there weren't any benefits at all. I know that when you came back for your second go-round, are you making now as much as you did at one time for the city of Troy?
My first tier, my salary is less than it was 6 years ago.
Okay. And we didn't have to move you?
No.
And we don't have to pay your health because we're already doing that?
And there's no pension obligation for me either.
So you were a pretty good deal when we were out there looking for things. So when you're
in the audience, I had to run that number for me, which council's been cognizant of for almost 2 years now, and it was about, what, $50,000 less than the last person? About $50,000 general fund money is less. Some of the propaganda will tell you differently, but that's the actual number.
There is a narrative out there, and I know that one of the speakers at the end said, no matter how many times it's corrected, it comes back. But I am concerned that there is this view out there because of the way that government has to keep money set aside, that there's a view that that total number is something that's just thrown at you year in and year out, and that's not accurate. And so that it will be helpful to have that memo come forward.
It'll be, it was put together, or is being put together by Peggy Sears, our HR director. In reference to your comment in Farmington Hills, if I recall, the statement was that there was in the want ads a position for finance director that paid between $100,000 and $125,000 per year, and the only fringe benefit was 4 weeks vacation. I would indicate that knowing Farmington Hills, I'm sure they offer pension benefits and health insurance, which would be in addition to what was stated at the microphone.
Any other council comments? If not, then we'll be in recess and go to exec session.
Your Honor?
Yes,
Sorry,
Mr. Zerling?
And I'm not sure if this is the time for the manager to bring it up, but I see nothing in the agenda that allows me to speak again. Council spoke about goals and objectives and having meetings over the next, having 2 meetings, if you will, after regular meetings. Do you want to schedule that for yourself?
Well, we originally, when we talked about it, when we had Barry in, we mentioned these 2 meetings in November, but then we've got this stuff on tonight, so it's obviously not going to be tonight. But I think maybe next Monday we should schedule something so we can at least get going with it. And we were not going to send them in ahead. Remember, we said we wanted everybody to bring them to the meeting so that we'd, each do it and then do it that way. So
I just have a little level of discomfort giving my bosses an assignment to bring goals and objectives for the next meeting. If it was something that I was going to generate, it would be no problem, but
no.
This is your gig, if you will, and so if you want to do that, you should let me know, and I'll schedule the next 2 meetings.
I think we gave the assignment to ourselves. Councilman Beltramini, I see you shaking your head. Is that correctly how that went? Yeah.
Okay.
So that yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Talked about building synergy and having it be organic and that we would brainstorm. And I actually thought tonight was the night we were going to do that originally because we did set those aside. So I don't know how this fell through. But yes, it would be advisable for us to have that meeting.
All you'll have from me then is just an indication that there's a study session.
Study session, then use the whiteboard or
Okay.
other sheets, easels, and let us go in there and do it.
I think we can.
Very good.
We can do that
Thank
in
you.
there. Okay, so we need 2 in a row, 2 weeks in a row. Okay. And then if we get it all done in one, we won't need it, but we should plan on having 2. Okay, good. So we're in recess and we'll meet up in the other room.